Alright, I just wanted to make a video since we have a snow day. Maybe get us ahead a little bit so that Monday we can move forward and keep plugging with the curriculum. I also want to do some sight reading pretty soon, so I figured this is a good way to get ahead. So I'm going to do a video on Book 1, lines 494 through 519, which is your weekend homework. So that means you'll be having different homework this weekend. So I'm going to translate much in the way I did the last video, and draw arrows and talk about any grammar things that are interesting. Okay? In order to understand this passage fully, we have to actually get a little background of what just happened from our English reading. So we have to remember that he's looking at images on a under construction temple of Juno, and they're from the Trojan War. And we know that Juno is pro-Greek, so we have to remember that Aeneas is seeing images of Hector's death and him being dragged around the city. Agamemnon, we see images of Diomedes killing people. We see images of Menelaus, and we see an image of an Amazon and how feisty she is. So that's kind of setting up Dido too. So we have Dido as an image of kind of nearby an Amazon that's depicted, but then also later on this passage we'll see that she's compared to Diana, so kind of contrasting views there. Oh, maybe not. Alright, so if we read through here, we have a little bit of leakage of hike. Okay, so dum actually kind of starts right here, that clause does. And we say, hike dum Dardanio Aenea Miranda videntur. Dum stupet, obtutuque, haeret defixus in uno. Regina ad templum forma paucerrima Dido, incessit magna juventum stipante cathera. So we bracket this like that. We see this bracket here and right here, which is nice because those are individual lines. And we start off with these things. While these things are seen, these things being amazed at by Dardanian Aeneas. And here we have an interesting construction. You've probably seen these before. We have our dative agent. You might recall dative agents only occur with gerundives or future passive periphrastics. And that is exactly what Miranda is. It is a gerundive. So we see that goes with hike, they're both neuter plural. And we move on. Dum stupet, while he is stunned. And he sticks. It's like he's planted. Hiret. Astonished, defixus. And I think that in uno obtutu, I think uno and obtutu go together. In uno obtutu, and that he sticks in one gaze. I think he's in awe, he's frozen. The queen, Dido, very beautiful in form. Here we have an ablative of respect, all right, in her figure. She approached to the temple with a great crowd of young men pressing around. Here we have an ablative absolute. And you can see the great crowd of youths gathering around as Magna and Caterva surround Juventum and Stipande. Alright. Qualis in Eurotae ripis aut periuga cinti. Exercet Dianacoros, quam mille secutae, hic atque hic, glomerantur Oriades, illa farantam. Paratram. Fert umero, gradiens quae dea superminet omnes. Alright. Here we have another simile. Started with qualis, and we saw one with the B passage, and these things tend to get begun by the word qualis. Such as Diana. Actually, this is grammatically an adjective, but it does begin a simile. Such as Diana leads her chorus. And we have to almost skip down to this line in order for it to make sense in English. Diana's chorus, which is choros right here, the direct object, is made up of nymphs because she's kind of the goddess of the hunt and outdoors. So you got to imagine a band of nymphs surrounding Diana, not just people that sing or something like that. Anyway, just as Diana leads her chorus on the banks of Eurotas. Eurotas is a river in Sparta. Well, we can bracket this off. Or through the ridges of Cynthus. Now, Cynthus is where Diana was born. So this is just some imagery there. The place names are very pointed for Diana. Alright, now this is an interesting part here. Quam mille secutae. Quam, as we know, is a relative clause. It's the direct object of its own clause. But it's not the direct object of the main clause that it begins. It's the direct object of a participle. Secutae. So, actually that arrow is deceiving. Because it's not modifying quam. Quam is actually going with secutae. So, having followed whom 1,000 Oreades, which are nymphs, are gathered from here and from there. Hic aquae hic. And we got she carries a quiver on her shoulder. And we have the ablative on her shoulder. And walking, present active participle, she rises above all the goddesses. I think the goddesses are those minor deities that are nymphs because they're the ones surrounding her. Alright, let's move on. We start here with Latonae tacitum per temptat gaudia pectus, talis erat Deido, talem se laeta ferebat, per medios instans alperi regnis quae futuris. Tum fortibus divae media testudine templi, saepta armis solioque alte subnixa resedit. Okay, so we see here joys, and this is going to be our subject. This is going to be our subject right here, because it's the only thing plural here. Joys excite the tacitum pectus, the silent heart of Latona. Now, Latona is the mother of Diana. Okay. Now, Dido was such, and she happily carried herself such. This is not that hard of a sentence grammatically, but it's important to know this is an adjective, and it's agreeing with the gapped Dido. And when that happens, you can either say she, happy, carries herself such, or you can say she happily carries herself such and give it some kind of adverbial meaning, which is what I did. So if you're looking for the happily, it's actually an adjective, and that's right there, laeta. She carries herself happily through the middle, standing close, instance, standing close to the work and future kingdoms. A little bit of looking forward to what Carthage is going to become there. Then, at the doors of the goddess, genitive going with foribus, in the middle of the central hall of the temple. And testudine is like the central hall. It's like the middle hallway of the temple. Okay. She. This is where Saepta is taking the place of our subject here. Having been surrounded with arms, here's we have her Ablate of means. This probably means armed men. I don't think she just has weapons randomly around her. They're probably being carried by people. And propped up subnixa on a high throne, ablative of place. So, Saipta and subnixa both refer to Dido. She settled down, resedet. Okay, let's keep moving. Iuradabat legesque viris aperumque laboram partibus aequabat, justus aut sorte trahebat, cum subito Aeneas concursu accedere magno, antea sergestumque videt fortemque colontum, tucrorumque alios ater quos aequore turbo dispulerat penitusque, alias auxerat auras. Sorry. Okay. And here we actually we have some pretty easy stuff. She was giving laws, maybe orders for Eura, orders and laws to the men. Here we have a dative indirect object. And she divided the labor of the works with equal parts, with parts being equal. If you want to take that as an ablative absolute, that's probably fine, but it seems more like an ablative of means. It's how she divided it. Or she assigned the works by lot. Now, traheb means like to drag usually, or to pull, but you can mean assign in this context. That's what we're talking about. All right, and then when suddenly Aeneas, our subject, concursu accedere magno is the ablative in an infinitive. That's interesting. Antea sergestumque videt. Ooh, we have a head verb and an infinitive. I think we're going ACI. So we're going to go back here. Looks like we have our accusatives, anthea and sergestum and colontum, tucrorumque alios, even all the way through there. So we have a series of accusatives, which are subjects. Okay, here's a genitive going with alios, and we see fortem going with colontum, except we have to put a hat to break our indirect statement around videt. Okay? So, Aeneas sees that Anthea and Sergestrum and mighty Colonthus and others of the Teucrians approached from the great crowd. So here we have an ablative of separation. With magno concursu. Whom? We're big quotes there. Whom? A dark whirlwind in the sea. Ooh. Ater goes with turbo. Turbo is nominative. It doesn't look like it, but it is. In the sea. Had dispersed and had carried inward to other shores. So we have accusative place where with oros. And our direct object of both of these verbs is quos. Cool. And let's go to the next slide. Obstripuit simul ipse simul procussus acates, lait hitiaque metuque avidi coniungere dextras ardebat. Sed res animos cognita turbat. Dissimulant et nube cava speculantur amicti. Quae fortuna viris, classam cogitora liquant, quid veniant? Cunctis nam lecti navibus ibant, orantes veniam, et templum clamore petebant. Right. So we start this one with some perfect tense. He himself, ipse, being Aeneas. Oops. Ipse refers to Aeneas. Okay. He himself, at that moment, because we have two symbols, we're going to translate them a little differently. At that moment, was dumbfounded, obstipuate, and at the same time, Achates, having been shocked with happiness and concern. We probably are gapping an S here. It's probably Achates was shocked at the same time with happiness and concern. And the concern, of course, because these are foreigners. As much as we like the Carthaginians, it's impressive, we are still treating them as foreigners. We're a little concerned with the fact that our men, the Trojans who have just arrived, are under their mercy, okay? So make sure to keep that in mind as we read this. It's not just Laetitia happiness to see them, but also concern because they're in this strange territory with these people that we don't know. Okay. They, eager, burned to join right hands. Now this is our subject here, Avidi, referring to Achates and Ipse. But the unknown situation agitated their spirits. They held in dissimulant, and that kind of means like to hold in your feelings. And they cloaked with an enveloping cloud, wondered, and then we're going to have a series of indirect questions here. I'd like to point out, though, these ablatives here are going with a mix. Cloaked with an enveloping cloud. They wondered what fortune the men had. Here, since we have an indirect question, and we don't have a verb, we're going to have to gap in sit, being the subjunctive of to be. And we have wearies here, the dative of possession. So, what fortune is to the men, or what fortune the men had. All right. On what shore they left their ship. Here again we have our indirect question. We see a subjunctive here. We see our interrogative quo. This is adjectival modifying litterae. And, of course, this linquant, it comes from the same root as relinquo, which you guys know is to leave behind. So it means the same thing. Why they come? Quid veniant. For they, selected from all their ships, came, praying for pardon, or a favor, actually. Veniam is more like a favor. And orantes here are a present active participle. Going with the men, lecti, chosen from all the ships. And they sought the temple with a clamor. Here we have our ablative of manner. Alright, hope that helps. And I'll be posting the homework for the weekend now that this is posted, so make sure to look for that, and I will see you guys in class.